I always thought the office was just empty at night, until something moved in the shadows. And it was watching me. It was past midnight, and I was the only one left in the office, frantically finishing a report that was due first thing in the morning. The fluorescent lights above flickered intermittently, casting long, uneven shadows across the rows of cubicles. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the low hum of the air conditioning and the soft click of my keyboard. I thought I heard a faint sound, a scuffing of shoes against the floor, just outside my office. My heart skipped a beat, but I convinced myself it was maintenance staff still finishing up some work. I forced myself to focus on the glowing screen in front of me. Minutes passed, and then it started again. A soft, irregular whisper, followed by the sound of typing from an empty cubicle. My chair scraped slightly across the floor, though I hadn't moved it. I froze. The office, usually dull and lifeless at night, now seemed alive. Expectant. Watching. Every time I lifted my head, I caught a fleeting shadow out of the corner of my eye. It vanished whenever I tried to look directly at it. My pulse quickened. I tried rationalizing, maybe it was my imagination, the stress getting to me, but deep down, I knew something was there. Then I saw it. A figure, darker than the dim shadows around it, standing just beyond the corner of the office. It didn't walk. It moved in slow, almost liquid motions, stretching and shifting unnaturally. I blinked, and it was gone. But every time I dared to glance again, it reappeared, always just out of reach, always just out of direct view. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with fear, frozen in place as though the office itself were holding me captive. My computer pinged. A new email. From an unknown sender. The subject line was simple, I see you. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were multiple images of the empty office. And there I was. Sitting at my desk, frozen in every frame. The timestamps showed the photos were taken just seconds apart. I dropped my mouse. The shadows around me seemed to deepen, stretching across the walls like claws. Panic surged. I tried the exit doors. Locked. The elevator buttons, unresponsive. It felt like the building itself had become alive, reshaping itself to trap me. Every corner I turned, every hallway I approached, seemed to twist unnaturally, extending further than it should, mocking my attempts to escape. I pounded on the emergency door. Nothing. My breaths came in ragged gasps. Every flicker of the lights above made the shadows dance closer. The sound of whispers, almost voices, circled me, incomprehensible but distinctly threatening. Then, by instinct rather than logic, I spotted the emergency exit sign flickering faintly in the distance. I ran. My shoes skidded across the polished floor. The shadows seemed to recoil as I passed. Bursting through the door, I inhaled the cool night air like a lifeline. Behind me, the office looked normal. Peaceful. Ordinary. When I returned the next morning, blinking in daylight, I tried to tell my colleagues what had happened. Their faces were blank, confused. "No one's been here for hours," they said casually. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And sometimes, late at night, I still swear I hear those footsteps echoing behind me. She was just there yesterday, but when I came in today, her desk was gone. And no one remembered her. It started like any ordinary day. A new colleague joined our department, cheerful, helpful, and instantly likable. She smiled easily, shared small talk over coffee, and even helped me troubleshoot a glitch in my computer. Everyone seemed to take to her immediately, including me. There was a warmth to her presence, a friendliness that made the office feel lighter. But beneath that surface, I couldn't shake a strange, subtle unease. Something about her felt off. Over the next few days, I noticed little things. She would sometimes stand motionless, staring at walls for minutes at a time, murmuring words I couldn't understand. Occasionally, she would vanish for hours, claiming to be on errands, though no one ever seemed to know where she went. I shrugged it off at first. Maybe she had personal matters to attend to. But the unease grew. There were moments when I caught her at the edge of my vision, but when I looked directly, she was gone. Then came the notes. Small post-its appeared on her desk with cryptic warnings, "You shouldn't be here." At first, I thought it was a prank from another colleague, but there was no handwriting I recognized. Later, her computer screen flickered to life on its own. A single message displayed, "Account deleted." Panic bubbled in my chest. I ran to HR, only to be met with blank stares. "Who are you talking about?" they asked. "We don't have anyone by that name." During the next team meeting, I tried to bring her up. Every mention of her was met with confusion or awkward silence. My manager insisted she had never been hired. Emails, files, and HR records, all traces of her existence, vanished as if she had never existed. I stared at her empty desk. There were no signs that she had ever been there. No coffee mug, no notepad, no chair indentation. It was like a ghost had been occupying the space. I decided to investigate. Security footage showed her entering the building on her first day, walking to her desk, and then, nothing. Every subsequent frame had her missing. The cameras had no record of her leaving. I asked my colleagues again. They laughed nervously, brushing it off. "Maybe you misremembered?" But I knew I hadn't. I had spoken to her, shared lunch with her, laughed with her. And now, she had simply disappeared. By the next morning, her desk was completely gone. Not just cleared, but physically removed. It was as if she had never been there at all. The emptiness lingered, a cold void where her presence had once been. Even now, when I walk past that spot, I feel a subtle gaze on me. A presence that shouldn't exist. And sometimes, late at night, when the office is empty, I swear I hear whispers, soft and unintelligible, calling my name. I learned a hard lesson that day. Some colleagues are not meant to be known, and some places in the office hide secrets that never leave. I stepped into the elevator, and the lights went out. Then, it stopped on a floor that didn't exist. It was just another ordinary morning at the office. I pressed the button for my floor and stepped into the elevator, expecting the usual hum of metal and machinery. But the lights flickered strangely, as if the bulbs were struggling to stay alive. The reflective walls of the elevator shimmered, creating an illusion that the space had become slightly distorted. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just an electrical glitch. But a shiver ran down my spine. Something felt off. Suddenly, the elevator jolted slightly and stopped. The floor indicator showed 13. That didn't exist in our building, at least, not officially. The doors opened to a dark corridor, pitch black and silent. I hesitated at the threshold, my hand hovering over the closing door button. But curiosity, or perhaps fear, forced me forward. The air was unnaturally cold, still, and heavy. It smelled faintly metallic, like old machinery. Each step echoed unnervingly in the void. I froze when I heard it, footsteps approaching, deliberate, slow, almost matching my own pace. Then a whisper, soft, unintelligible, but unmistakably my name. I turned toward the elevator, hoping to retreat, but the buttons were unresponsive. I was trapped. My pulse raced. The corridor seemed to stretch longer, darker, as if the walls themselves were moving. Every instinct screamed at me to run, yet I felt rooted to the floor. Then I saw them, figures inside the elevator, appearing and disappearing like smoke. Their shapes were human, but their faces blurred, distorted, featureless. They didn't speak, but I felt their attention like a weight pressing down on me. A sudden realization hit. I wasn't alone, and whatever was here didn't intend to let me leave. My breath came in short, panicked bursts, and a cold sweat soaked my back. The elevator lurched violently. Red emergency lights flickered, throwing the figures into grotesque shadows. A metallic screech, like tearing metal, filled the enclosed space. My heart pounded in my chest. Every surface shook as if the elevator had become alive, a malevolent force intent on crushing me. I pressed every button frantically. Nothing worked. I screamed, no sound came out. The figures remained, unmoving yet omnipresent, closing in with every pulse of the lights. Finally, the doors opened on my regular floor. Daylight filtered in from the windows outside. People passed by, chatting, sipping coffee, completely oblivious to the nightmare I had just endured. I tried to explain what had happened to my colleagues, but they laughed nervously. The elevator just malfunctioned, they said. Security logs later confirmed that the elevator never stopped on any non-existent floor. But I know the truth. I felt it. I lived it. And sometimes, late at night, when I ride the elevator alone, I swear I can still hear whispers calling my name from a floor that doesn't exist.